This story is about a man named Charles Daniel Dunn. He grew up in Fredericton near Kempsey on the Macleay River. While his mother was born in the area, his father Joseph Frederick Dunn immigrated from England. There was nothing special about the family. They were just like everybody else. Even like today, they had their troubles with money. Charles' father Joseph was the proprietor of a billiard room in Kempsey, and in both 1885 and 1891 he had insolvency issues. In 1892, he was involved in a case in the licensing court about an application to transfer the license of the Post Office Hotel Fredericton into his name. Neil Anderson, who was the publican of the hotel, stated that he wished to withdraw the application as it had been made without his consent. The bench held there was no application before the court, and the case was struck out. But 7 days later, Joseph Frederick Dunn's name was in the 1892 Government Gazette's publican's license list as the new publican of the Post Office Hotel Fredericton. It was also announced in the Macleay Argus on the 16th of February. Many sporting codes used the Post Office Hotel for their meetings, with the Fredericton Cricket Club being one of them, and Joseph Dunn acting as treasurer. Joseph Dunn was enjoying his life as the publican until he passed away in December of 1900 due to the effects of dropsy. After Joseph's death, his wife Evelyn took over as publican of the Post Office Hotel. She was also heavily involved in supporting the sports clubs of the area, which included the bicycle, cricket and aquatic clubs. Also, once a year there was the Fredericton Regatta. It's the second oldest aquatic event in Australia, first held in 1853 and only succeeded by the Australia Day Regatta that's held in Sydney Harbour since 1837. During this time, Charles was attending a private school, aptly named The School. It was run by Henry Renitz, and it was located at Mount Victoria in the Blue Mountains, and it opened in July of 1885. Up until 1906, over 600 boys had passed through its gates, and during May of 1908, while Charles was still attending as a student, went on a hike with his older brother Arthur and a bunch of mates. While hiking around Mt Piddington, they came to a rock ledge. No one knows for sure how it happened. Maybe it was because of skylacking, or did he just slip on the loose rocks? But Charles fell off the cliff, and the height of the fall was 55 metres, or 200 feet. Arthur and the others quickly raced down to look for Charles, and when they finally arrived at the bottom of the cliff, Charles wasn't there. He had miraculously survived the fall and made his way back to the school. He had only suffered minor cuts and bruises. These are the only two accounts of the fall, the first being from the Lithgow Mercury from the 26th of August 1908. The article talks about sailors from the American fleet visiting the Mount Victoria area, and Henry Renitz was one dignitary that was escorting the officers around. The story also says that they went to Mt Piddington and Cox's Cave. It also mentions Dunn's Leap and talks about how Charles fell down the cliff and survived because he landed on a mass of deep bracken and soft earth, and only getting a bit bruised, he stayed in bed for 48 hours, and at the end of the week he competed in a football match. And the second account is from a postcard written by Henry Renitz himself to a friend in Noumea from the 4th of the 9th, 1908, and it says, "On the other side you will see the scene of an accident. C. Dunn, brother of Arthur Dunn of Fredericton on the Macleay, fell down. The wire is stretched where he fell without a break. The top is near Ferris Cave, the bottom near Cox's Cave. Beyond a few bruises, the boy was not hurt. He walked home while his mates were looking for his remains." Now, after reading about the fall, I'm going to go and check out Dunn's Leap in the Mount Piddington area for myself. Good morning, everyone. And we're back out again, and to see if we can find Dunn's Leap. So, as you can see, the sign here says Fairy Bower and Cox's Cave, and as you're going down towards them, you can follow the trail to Dunn's Leap, and that's where we're headed off now. And we've been through the story of Charles Daniel Dunn. Now we're going to go find a 55 metre cliff where he fell off and survived. Very, very amazing. I think it's really going to hit me hard when I actually see the 55 metres and probably just go, wow. So anyway, we're going to make our way down now and see what we can find down here, because I've never been here before. can see why old Charles Dunn and his brother Arthur wanted to hike down here. It's a really beautiful place. So here's a sign saying Dunn's Leap Return Walk. It's 400 metres, return walk 45 minutes. It's a bit unstable, you're close to some cliff edges, and we're pretty sure I've got to go down here to get to it. So as I've never been here before, this is all new to me. So hopefully Dunn's Leap is around the ledge there and we can film it and make our way out before it gets too hot today. See just right here, if you slid down there, unless you grab one of those trees, you're falling down. So you just got to watch your step when you're coming down to the bottom of the Dunn's Leap trail. And look, there's the sign right here where he fell. Awesome, we'll go up there and take a look at this this cliff where he fell off. Now here's a sign that says that this is Dunn's Leap, and it's not the original, because the original said 181 feet, but Brian Cox come down here with a friend and put this one up, and it's actually 200 feet or 55 metres, I've been told. So, and I can see why he survived, because it's pretty flat, and if he fell off and he just slid, this part here is really flat, and he may just bumped off that and then landed on all the ferns here. If he didn't hit that first ledge that was right here, you see there's a first ledge right there on an angle, and if he just goes along this part here, which is all flat, so he's not going to do much damage hitting that. He's going to have some speed by the time he gets down to the bottom here, but all the ferns and that are still growing here saved his life. Absolutely amazing. Until you come here and look at it, oh, look how high it is. A really lucky guy. When Charles's education finished at Henry Ronnett's school in Mount Victoria, he went back to join his mother in Fredericton. They moved to Wallara in 1911, and that was the last year that Evelyn Dunn was a publican of the hotel, as she sold it for £1,000 in 1912 to a Mr. Henry Young. In November of 1913, Charles's older brother Arthur committed suicide by drinking the disinfectant Lysol. It was one of the most popular means of suicide in Australia during this time. And when the First World War started, Charles's younger brother Sydney signed up in 1916 at the age of 23, and he was assigned to the 1st Australian Machine Gun Battalion. The first major action he was involved in was in France at Pozières in the Somme Valley. He was a very lucky man to have survived the war, and he returned to Australia in July of 1919. Sydney was married to Christina Sheridan a year later in 1920. Charles married Kathleen Pearl Broderick at Paddington in 1925, and they had 2 children, John and Rodney. They lived in Rose Bay until on the 12th of June 1965, at the age of 74, Charles Daniel Dunn passed away in a Sydney hospital. One last thing I'm going to do is visit Charles Daniel Dunn's final resting place in the eastern suburbs Memorial Cemetery in Matraville. So this is the area that Charles Daniel Dunn is buried in, and he was buried in 1965 at the age of 74. I couldn't find his headstone, and so I went to the administration and they said exactly where he was, but there's no headstone or any kind of structure here. So this is 11 plots long from the middle. So it's a pity that he hasn't got a headstone or a cross or anything like that, but he's very lucky to survive that 55-metre fall in 1908 and live to the age of 74. So this is where our journey ends. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and it's been interesting to find out a bit of a life of a man that was lucky enough to survive a fall of 55 metres, and truly remarkable, absolutely remarkable. you look up at that from the bottom of that ledge, or look down, and you're like, how the hell did he survive that? But anyway, thanks for watching, and the story's taken me a long time to get all the information, and as I always say, always hike in thongs.